Actually, I have a whole podcast set up in the other office because I've been doing it for so long, and that's like a serious actual. And it sounds buttery. It sounds amazing. But I don't break that out for this. This is just Quarantech, man. Hey everybody, Evan here. Welcome back to Quarantech. This is episode 6 already, number 6. This week we're having Cody Winchester join me on the show. Cody is our lead technical trainer at HMC in our digital practice. He runs what we call the Digital Academy, and I'm really excited to have him on where he can show you everything that he's done to build an amazing system and all of the curriculum that sits on top of that for all the different courses that we offer. Basically, it's an entire university running inside of HMC, and it's just, his stuff is just the digital tools that support all the projects that we do. So whether it's design technology or Revit or Navisworks or Enscape, or, there's a plethora of tools out there. We're developing or running courses right now just for that. And he had done a ton of this work since fall last year when he started at HMC. And then we get into this year and COVID-19 happened, and he had to retool because he was doing everything in-person workshops in the offices that we have, and now we didn't have that anymore. And so we don't have the exact same setup. He had to actually change how he is doing all of that. So I wanted to bring him on so that you could see behind the scenes. This is a really great opportunity to kind of see all the things that he's built so that we can invest in our people and get their digital IQ raised so that they have more skills, can use the tools that we have way more effectively. And, a lot changes through the life cycle of software, and there becomes better ways to do things. We want to teach everybody how to do that. So let's give Cody a call right now, and let's learn a little bit more about him and what he's doing at HMC. This is Cody Winchester. He's the lead tech trainer at HMC Architects. And I wanted to just kind of give everybody an idea of what your role is within the company. And I thought it was pretty cool because, I don't know, when did we actually first start talking before you came on to HMC? This was a year ago, maybe?
Possibly. Yeah, it could be almost, we're getting into May. It could have been that long.
Yeah. So when we originally started talking, the idea was, I always had a really strong inclination that we had to help raise the digital IQ of everybody in the company. We can't just say we're using new tools. We actually had to give people the agency within the framework of HMC to be able to have the ability to level themselves up and do that on company time, right? Like we can't just expect everybody to learn new tools on nights and weekends, or hope they learn the tools. And not only that, but hope they learn them all the same way, right? Yeah. So that would never happen. That would just never happen. So when we started talking,
so exciting here, right?
Yeah. It was one of those things where it was like, let's build what we're now calling Digital Academy inside of digital practice at HMC and level everybody up with us as we completely shift, from kind of a foundational level, the technology that we are using to deliver the projects that we are. And you, like when we first started talking, you were just like, that's exactly what I want to do. So it would be pretty cool, I think, if you kind of told the story of how did you get to that place? Because you also come from a background of design and production and, a normal route to like how it works to be in a large firm. So how did you get to the position where you thought that was something that you really wanted to do?
I don't really know exactly. It just kind of materialized that way. I like to say that I wasn't born a digital native by any means. I went through a very traditional route. In 4 years of college, I went through doing everything by hand. But then towards the latter half of school and getting into some of my first steps in my career, I just took to the technology like right away and started using, the first few 3D programs I used in school, but then I was using a lot of like ADT way back when, the architectural desktop.
Yeah.
And then that turned into Revit, and then that turned into like, these tools are great, but I still want to pursue a career in design. Went to school, grad school for my master's in architecture, and was like fully on board with doing the kind of traditional design route until the recession. And
the
then I really, yeah. But then I fell back into what I had known on like the BIM side and like the technical side, and realized that there's just like a really strong currency for what we can do. It makes the industry more adaptable. And I just kind of kept plugging away at that. And the more I got into it, the more it was like, this really does kind of change everything. But again, like, you're kind of learning it on your own. Like you said, like nights and weekends, it's this like cottage industry that everybody has. So the opportunity to like do this like more full time and just port over all of these ideas that I've been kind of stewing on for a long time, and working with a group that is really excited about and wants to, share it with everybody so that we can really do something special, has been really exciting.
Do you have one of your notebooks nearby?
Of course.
Okay. Pull it out. Show everybody.
Definitely
I want everyone to see kind of your meticulous level of note taking when you talk about kind of all of these things that you've been collecting. Show everybody what that process is like.
So I still keep like a lot of hand-drawn stuff. So I use this kind of moleskin, which they discontinued, and I have to order them from the UK now. But this is the 11th of the series here. And I have this whole system here. I can just show you the last couple pages. So I started May today. Nice. And I have a system for how to like color code the projects and the meetings, the recording sessions, and there's 150 pages of these, and each one, I've been doing it for like a few years now, but I have a whole system for taking notes, and that's still like the manual download of information. But it's still so important. It's so funny. It still works really well despite all of these great tools.
I love it. Every time I see you and you've got this notebook on your desk, and it's just like, and when I watch you take notes in it, I'm always kind of blown away at how precise you are about it, and how beautiful they are. And I think like it's so cool to think about 11 of those stacked up next to each other on the shelf, and being able to pull them and kind of go back in history to what you were thinking at the time, and just see it like, and you made that by hand. I think that's really cool.
It's beautiful data.
Yeah,
that's how I think of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's do our new segment. We're gonna do our back in the day segment.
Back in the day.
All right. So
gotcha.
you mentioned it a little bit. You talked about ADT, but if you go back, what was the very first? Now that you teach 3D modeling and building information modeling and documentation, what was the first 3D modeler that you ever used?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of really digging back there now. It probably would sound, and maybe even date me a little bit, to say that the first real 3D program I came across was Formzee. And playing around with that, like, I remember how difficult that was, and I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to learn how to do that. So that was the first thing that I touched as far as the 3D world. And then I think SketchUp came out not too long after the end of my senior year of college, and they were based in Boulder at that point where I went to school. Right. So they came doing like presentations, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool too. And then that was kind of another entree into 3D programs. And then I got serious. And did real modeling. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was like the first of it for sure.
That's awesome. I was also a Formzee user. I taught it at Cal Poly for many years, and then we moved into ArchiCAD, and then eventually into Revit as well. And I still have a huge soft spot for Formzee. I've even used it. I mean, I probably opened it up a month ago. They actually, once SketchUp kind of came along and ate their lunch with the push-pull thing, Formzee
Yeah.
actually started over from scratch, and they said we've got to do that, or else we'll never be around in the future. And and
Hmm.
and and it's still amazing. Like, it has tools in it that
It's
are
still around.
very architectural. I mean, it has walls, it has stairs, it has doors and windows, and all these things that like you actually need to build architecture. And then you look at
Hmm.
tools like SketchUp and even Rhino, and they don't have that stuff, right? They're all kind of general purpose modelers, but Formzee always
Yeah.
had kind of a bent towards architecture because I think that was their largest customer base. Anyway, I always think it's fun to kind of go back and see where people started. So I also started with Formzee, and it was a beautiful program. And it was one of those ones where it was like there are so many tools on the screen, and we always had to work in wireframe. There was no shading back then. Like, you had to render
Yeah.
if you wanted to see it, right? So it was very different.
Yeah, the fun thing, just one note, is when I was working in Denver, our firm was partnered with Studio Liebeskind,
Yeah,
and we had the designers from his office, and they did that whole museum in Form Z.
yeah,
I remember those modelers, and it is still really impressive to
yeah.
see. But yeah, it's definitely intimidating.
That's cool. The biggest reason that I wanted to have Cody on the show today was really to talk about the training that he's actually putting into place at HMC. And he has been working on creating that curriculum and creating the scheduling and what goes into every one of these classes. So we've got a couple of different tracks. We've got the Revit track, and we've got design technology track. And then COVID-19 happened, and you had to completely retool the entire thing because all of a sudden, going into an office and having 10 people in the office in the same room as you, being able to raise their hand and ask questions is, for a whole day, right? 6 hours is a completely different thing online. So I wanted you to kind of talk us through what has changed, and then maybe show us on the computer the different ways that you're kind of handling all the behind the scenes information, and how this goes from just lunch and learn type workshops, which is not what we're doing at all, to a full blown like digital academy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, fortunately, we had developed a pretty robust curriculum pretty well ahead of time, and had gone through and like planned out a kind of road trip across the state to do all of these in-person trainings. And a
Yeah.
lot of folks were signed up to do those. And I think the last one I was able to squeeze in was a Revit training in Ontario. But it was like that day that they were saying travel restrictions, and you're staying home tomorrow,
Right.
pretty much.
Right.
So I was looking at my notebook, speaking a notebook today, and it was like, we officially went in like mid-March,
Yeah.
and we're starting May today. So it's been more than like a month and a half now
Yeah.
that we've been kind of under wraps. But there was a lot that kind of had to go into like, okay, well, great. Now what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to do this training? Like, this is everyone's goal still, is to go through this stuff. And it's still my job to do this.
Yeah.
And I really want to do this. I have all this stuff prepared and all this track built. I think the lucky thing is we're pretty much ready to do it. All we had to do is really just chop the training in half and find a good platform that was readily available to start doing it. And then just have some extra notes on like how to engage with people. And in the end, I feel like we were able to engage with people probably better than we would in class in some ways, because everybody got a chance to like share their screens with the work they were doing, and there was just kind of more impetus to like ask questions and have that dialogue. It was a lot more active, surprisingly, than being in class, but still, like, I'm still limited to this kind of format right here.
Yeah.
So it still is hard to really have the kind of body language and presence that you want, but I think we're making it work. So
Yeah.
I can show some of the backup here. Let's share my screen.
While you're bringing that up, I wanted to just say that I've been keeping an eye on Twitter on some other people who are teaching at different universities, and they're all doing it over Zoom. So whether it's USC or Columbia or Pratt or wherever it is, and they're saying the same thing. They're saying the engagement is off the charts, and I'm interested to kind of hear the theories behind that of why that's working so well. But it's interesting to hear you say the same thing.
That's interesting to hear that that's the feedback that they're getting too.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I read stuff like, it's hard to, I mean, maybe for younger kids in school, like being able to stay focused. But yeah, maybe there's something like once you get to this level, you're kind of, you're ready to go.
right, right.
So on the screen right here, you'll see like this is the full list of trainings that I've done over, actually that the firm has done over the past year and a few months now, going back to February of last year.
Right.
And then you can see like here's my whole section on like now these are all go-to meetings instead of being in office somewhere. But I felt like this little chart, so I've been tracking like who's been registering when for enrollments. One, just because, when I had to cut off all the classes, I wanted to make sure that all those same people could, just segue over into the new online format. So I was able to fill up most of these classes just with the people that previously signed up, but you kind of see this like COVID gap right here.
Right.
So it's like, here's everybody that registered, and that's too bad we're not doing it for a while. But once I reintroduced them, that level went right back up. It's been pretty well sustained. So this is kind of how we're tracking this whole curriculum now. And these filled up really quick. I mean, we still have some courses, some availability here with some Revit courses coming up in the summer. And I think we have like one slot left for this last design technology class. So anyone who's watching, do this quickly because these will fill up for sure.
You can get in there.
But yeah, so I've been really trying to track this information, and then as people complete it, I want to kind of track the skills that are associated with it. So what does that look like? So here's our whole curriculum that we've kind of agreed with, not only with HR, but the rest of digital practice. Like, here's what we're going to be offering on LinkedIn. Here's what we're going to be offering now online for these kind of one-to-one trainings. And what I'm going to be doing is actually seeing like, well, what skill level does this kind of do? And then kind of gamify it just a little bit so that as folks are completing these courses, like you're getting points in the background. And eventually I'm building another reporting mechanism here where, towards the end of the year, folks can come to me and say, hey, like, can I get a readout of all the courses I've taken?
Yeah.
And I'll be able to provide that. And like, here's the courses that you've taken. Here's the kind of skill level that we are assigning there. And, we can do that periodically, and you can actually see an increase in these levels. And you can actually, from the LinkedIn learning, you can get, the little badges and stuff you can post to your profile if you want to. But we've kind of tried to marry those into this kind of metric for folks. But as far as like the training goes, like the online format has been working really, really well. I think we've kind of arrived at a good size of like a class. So I'm doing it at about 14 people right now. So that's like a pretty good sized grid of faces on the screen.
Yeah. And
we kind of go through the introduction process and kind of everybody can see everybody. Everyone kind of talks to each other a little bit. We'll have questions at certain points and people will kind of show their video again. But the fun part, at least for like the Rhino sessions, is we'll go around and do some little exercises and actually have everybody share their screens, and we can see some of the modeling that people are doing. And that's been really fun to see, like, people are really being creative with stuff and trying to make something really interesting, and then we kind of get to talk about it and have these like little mini charrettes inside of the class, which is really fun. And it gets everybody excited and kind of breaks that routine up a little bit.
Yeah,
and then
super cool.
Make some renderings out of it towards the end of it. So, and awesome. I've assigned homework for the first time in my life because I'm broken up the class.
That's cool. Yeah, it gives everybody a little bit of time they kind of get to digest what they learned, apply it, and maybe formulate new questions, right? But also use the tools so that they get a little bit of application and then come back to the next training session fresh with questions, ideas, examples, to get the conversation moving and really kind of take ownership over their learning of that information. So
it worked really well.
Awesome.
It was a lot of fun. So But just for everybody's reference, this is all the back end stuff. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I have a portal for people to find these trainings too. So on our digital practice, I may have presented this before in the past, but I have our learning page here and I have our full listing. I am taking waitlist registration too, because some people have to drop off for project work. And given enough heads up, like we can just roll over the next person.
Yeah.
And then I can say, okay, whoever's on the list, I can immediately put you in there and get that invite sent to you. Cool. So I do have this calendar of everything and all that list. And then our full list. Here's our full curriculum that we have here. Going to some of these, you'll have a page and you'll see like the course, the description, the specific calendar dates available, a link to prerequisites, and then some of the work that folks have been doing. So at the end of this Rhino course, especially, we introduce Enscape. And at the end, people that can make their renderings and they can upload them here and kind of keep that kind of inspiration going and seeing what people are doing.
I'm hoping that specifically will engage people to the point where they get a little competitive with each other and like try to outdo people. So we could get some really intricate and really well crafted and beautiful looking images. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I'm still expecting a few. So if anybody who's in this class is watching, I'm still expecting some renderings up on this page. So do that. But just as a preview, like here's what we were doing in the class. So, we end up building, this whole intervention and then running rendering here in Enscape and having some fun with it.
That's awesome.
So
explain why does it look like this? Why are those basic masses there? Like where'd that come from?
So this comes from our Rhino template specifically. So when you start up Rhino and you have the HMC template, there's this mass block that sits in it. So if I were to start a new project with our template, this is what you get.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you incorporate these two things into a new form?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the objective. I think I may have closed out of my other project, but that's fine. So in the other one that I was showing, like I made a little donut ring around these things, and that was the kind of fun part. It's sort of like an exquisite corpse. It's like, here's this thing, now you build on it, now you build on it, now you build on it.
I always thought that would be such a great studio topic, is because like there was a couple buildings under construction that I would drive by in my neighborhood all the time, and it was like this steel frame with some concrete. And I always was like, they should stop construction now because it looks beautiful right now. And that it's not going to look beautiful in the future. It's going to become a stucco box with a red tile roof or whatever. So stop now and then use that as the basis in a studio project to say, make architecture out of this. I always thought that would be such a fun project to do. Like you said.
That's the fun that we get to have here. So that's when you come back to the page, like you'll see that, people have been enclosing that form in like different ways, like create a facade inside of this thing or create some little intervention.
Yeah.
So it's just fun to like get the kind of creative juices going and just kind of apply something to this condition. And then, we kind of share it and go through the motions.
So how do people sign up for these courses?
So right now, like most of the registration came from a backlog of folks who had signed up for the in-class, but I had posted on Echo all the registration that was available through an announcement. I have a registration portal right here where you can sign up directly. This will go to the form to fill out, so you can sign up here or these various lists. So if you see this Revit one, for instance, you can sign up directly here, and this will populate that class for you and get you signed up. And then you'll get an email confirmation that you've received that, and then I will send out a follow-up calendar invite for our go-to meeting, which we're using right now. And then you're good to go. And that's awesome. How we're doing it.
Yeah, so it's not like you send Cody an email at all. It's actually like Cody has taken the time to build all of this infrastructure so that he can look at all that data later and make sure that nobody gets missed and that everybody has an opportunity to get in there, and that there's this wait list component and this gamification component potentially, and a way for people at the end of the year to say, we want to give you a printout of or an image of all the courses that you've taken throughout the year, so you can show that like these are the skills that I gained this year and it's added to my professional career. I think that's important for us is that the company is really investing in its staff, and you can see it with all of this information that you're showing us here. It's really cool.
Yeah, I hope everyone takes advantage of it. And, we're going to do some more informal ones too. So we're looking for the summer to do some just 1 hour learning as well. That is, it's not part of the full curriculum. It's a much lower commitment. It's kind of like lunch and learn format, but those will form the basis of like some of these more advanced formal seminars that we'll be doing. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'll be posting stuff on Echo, and I might even try and use our Teams site. So I tried to create a channel on Teams for the HMC Academy,
right.
The Digital Academy.
Yeah.
So that's a great channel to follow up with the learning that you've done, to make suggestions for stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to cover all of the channels for us. So all of it's good.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all that. I have one final question for you. And I asked this on the last episode. I'm going to try to continue to remember to ask this. But what are you most looking forward to? What's the most exciting thing that you see happening right now in technology, either related specifically to what you're doing with training or the profession at large?
Well, I think what we learned about this whole move to work from home is that we are more than capable of a digital transformation for this industry, that we're able to still keep things going. We have everything that we need to succeed in this way. And it makes us rethink everything. And I think that's what really excites me, is like, how are we going to design now for this?
Right.
Now that we're, have to kind of curate these backgrounds for ourselves in our homes and, have a wholly different schedule. It changes our behavior completely, and our spaces are going to respond to that. So I think it's a really exciting time because of those things.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about everybody being apart, really isolated. One office here, one office there, 370 offices, and we have to create experiences where people come together. It's a super interesting kind of paradigm shift that we're going through right now. And with the work that we do, that's public work that is like owned by the community that it's in for the most part, that's a really interesting problem to solve. And I think we've never found ourselves in this circumstance before. So it'll be very interesting to see what we do with that. So very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining today. And for anybody who wants to see more about you, do you have any website? Or, I think one of the things that you said earlier that really sticks out is beautiful data. So where can people go learn more about Cody?
I did have a little blurb on my Echo profile right now. My personal website is under construction.
Oh.
Guys. Well, here's the funny thing. You want to talk about dating myself. I originally had a full website that I built in Flash.
Yeah, and that just doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't really work very well. So I had to get a new service, and so I got a new service, and I'm in the process of building again.
So to be continued. All right.
Yeah, I'd love to be there.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing today. Really appreciate it. I love the work that you're doing, and I would love it if people could leave a comment in the video below and just let us know like what you're most excited about with the Digital Academy at HMC. All right, man. See you next time.
Yep. Thanks.